Hey everyone, this is Pallavi and I'm back with the 16th game of the book Logical Chess Move by Move by Irving Chernev. This game was played between Tarrasch and Kurschner in Nuremberg in 1889 and the opening was Queen's Gambit accepted. Let's start. So White started with d4, controlling the center and also making way for the bishop and the queen to come out, and the pawn is protected by the queen. So after d4, Black replied with d5. Black is also controlling half of the center and is controlling the c4 and e4 square, also making way for his bishop and queen to come out. Now White played c4. The objective of this move is to destroy Black's pawn center. White offers a pawn to induce Black to surrender the center. If that does not work, White threatens to dissolve it by capturing c cross d5, queen cross d5 and knight to c3. And when the queen moves away, White can play e4 and White controls most of the center. So after c4, Black played d cross c4. After this, accepting the gambit is perfectly sound, but the resulting play requires great care on Black's part. Above all, he must not hold on to the extra pawn for too long. So after d cross c4, White played e3. A good move, but more to the point, is knight f3 to control the e5 square so that Black cannot counterattack with e5. By playing e3, White is releasing his one of these bishops and also trying to get the pawn immediately. The pawn which he just lost. So after e3, Black played bishop f5. With this move, Black hopes to solve the problem of the shut-in c8 bishop. However, the bishop's absence from the queen side weakens the section of the board and leaves the b pawn vulnerable. Another drawback in Black's move is that it violates one of the precepts for sound development, which is bring out your knights before bishops. So instead of bishop to f5, Black's best bet is in counterattack by playing e5. If White captures d takes e5, then queen takes d1 check, king takes d1 and bishop to e6. Now Black is supporting the c4 pawn and White has two doubled pawns on e5 and the e3 pawn. And after e5, if White plays bishop takes c4, then pawn takes pawn on d4, pawn takes pawn and bishop b4 check. All the pieces will get developed and this is equal position. So after bishop f5, that's what Black played, White played bishop cross c4. Also, one interesting fact, if here instead of moving the bishop to f5, if your Black plays b5, attempting to hold on to the extra pawn, but it might lead Black into one of the traps, which is pawn to a4. Trying to attack the b5 pawn, and then if Black supports with the c6, then pawn takes pawn, and then queen to f3, attacking the rook. White wins a piece. So bishop f5. After this, White played bishop takes c4, recovering the lost pawn as well as developing the bishop. Black played e6. Blocks White's c4 bishop's diagonal and makes way for his f8 bishop to develop. Instead of e6, had Black played knight to f6, then queen b3, and it's a double attack, attacking the b7 and f7 pawn. And also instead of e6, if Black plays knight to c6, then White can play queen b3 and then attacking the b7 pawn. Black can play knight a5 and then bishop takes f7 check, king d7, queen d5 check, king c8, queen takes f5 check, king b8 and queen takes a5. Wins two pieces. So after bishop cross c4, Black played e6. After this, White played queen to b3. Now why did White move his queen instead of developing his knights? Well, this purpose is to punish Black for faulty development. White's move is threatening the b7 pawn and as well as develops the queen, keeping Black on the run. It does not give him time to make his position solid. So after this, black played bishop e4. It looks attractive as the bishop is now supporting the b7 pawn and also attacking the g2 pawn, and after that black will be winning a rook. But this move violates a principle, which is move each piece only once in the opening. Place it at once on the square where it exerts more power and where it has the greatest freedom of movement. But here, after moving bishop to e4, black just moved the same piece twice. Now white played f3, defending the g2 pawn and also attacking the bishop. And after f3 pawn will help in advancing the e3 pawn to push to e4 for more control of the center. Now black played bishop to c6. With this move, black is obstructing the c pawn as it is needed to be pushed to c5 and attack white's pawn center. So after bishop c6, white played knight to e2, develops the knight and ready to castle. Black played knight to f6. Same idea, developing towards the center. Now white played e4. With this move, white controls the center and occupies it with pawns, clears a pawn for the development of his c1 bishop, clears a path for this bishop, and also limits black's c6 bishop's activities. So after e4, black played bishop to e7, the only square to develop the bishop from, as bishop d6 would bring e5 and double attack. So after bishop e7, white played knight b c3, bringing another piece into play and with the threat of playing d5. Pawn takes pawn, and then bishop d7, and then queen will capture b7 and white wins a piece. So after knight b c3, that is the idea, d5. So black played queen to c8, supporting the pawn. Now white played a good move, d5. After d5, in order to drive the c6 bishop back to the second rank. Sorry, here. So after d5, black played e takes d5. White captured e takes d5, again attacking the bishop. And now black played bishop to d7. Now before making his next move, white must decide whether to continue bringing his pieces to play or to try exploiting his present lead in the development. As we can see, white has a pawn on d5, which controls the important c6 and e6 square and restricts movement of the b8 knight to c6 and d7 bishop to e6. Also restricting the f6 knight. But standing on d5, it occupies a square that should be reserved for pieces, a jumping off square, a point of departure for other pieces, departure of pieces to any point of the board. The d5 pawn also obstructing the diagonal of the bishop and the supporting queen. And about black's position, his pieces are trapped in the first two ranks and his position is a bit crowded. But if he gets a chance to castle and reorganize his forces, it will be hard for white to overpower black. So white must not allow him to do this, hence this d6 pawn move. With this move, white is opening up the diagonal of this bishop, which is leading to black's weak spot, the f7 square. Clears the d5 for later exploitation by a rook and vacates the strategically important d5 square for the use of a piece. Meanwhile, the attack on the bishop leaves him no time to breathe. So here black played bishop cross d6. Now white played bishop cross f7, check. Checks the king and the king must move now and black will lose the right to castle. Black played king to d8. If black had played king to f8, then it would have trapped the rook on h8. So after king d8, white played bishop to g5. develops and pins the most useful piece, the knight, and the black queen is smothered by his own pieces. So after bishop to g5, black played knight to c6. Black could have tried playing bishop to e8, in that case, followed by rook to f8 and then queen to f5, or even queen to d7 and get rid of troublesome white pieces and exchanging them off. A formula in this case is, in a cramped position, try to relieve the pressure by forcing exchanges of pieces. So it was better to play bishop to e8, then followed by rook f8 and queen f5 or queen to d7 and exchange the bishops. So in black played knight to c6. After this, white played knight to e4, putting more pressure on the pinned knight. And the threat is obvious. White is planning to play knight takes f6, pawn takes knight, and bishop takes f6 and wins a rook. So after knight to e4, black played bishop to e7, protects the knight and unpins it. Now white played bishop takes f6, removing the solid defender. Black captured g cross f6. Black took with the pawn as he wants to keep both of his bishops. Now white played a good move. Can you guess? Yeah, it's long castle. Although white's king is somewhat exposed, but the a1 rook is now powerfully active on the d file, pinning the bishop on d7 and the defender of the king. Now black played knight to e5, trying to remove the bishop. White played knight to f4. Can you guess what is white threatening right now? Well, the threat is knight to e6 and it's a checkmate. So after this, black played queen b8, making a flight square for the king. Now white played queen e6 and then white is bringing another piece into action and attacking the d7 bishop. Now black played rook to f8, saves the rook and tries to scare off the f7 bishop. So after queen e6, white is also planning to play knight cross f6, which strikes at the pinned d7 bishop. And if bishop captures knight, queen takes bishop and it's a double attack. King moves, queen captures rook, bishop e8 and queen cross e8, checkmate. So that's what the idea was of queen e6. So after that, black played rook f8, saving the rook. Now white played knight cross f6, attacking the bishop. Black played bishop to d6, unpinning the bishop, the d7 bishop, and threatening to capture the queen. Now, instead of bishop to d6, if black plays bishop cross f6, then rook cross d7 check, knight captures d7, and then bringing the other rook to d1. Now, if black plays queen c8, and then queen cross f6, it's a checkmate. And after rook d1, if here black plays rook cross f7, then queen takes f7, threatening to checkmate on queen f8 or queen to d7. And now if black plays bishop to e7, then queen g8 check, bishop f8 and queen takes f8, checkmate. So after knight cross f6, black played bishop d6 and pinning the d7 bishop. Now white played knight cross d7, attacking the queen, rook and the knight. So after this, black played knight takes d7 and now white played rook h e1. Now what is the idea of this move? The idea is to play queen e8 check, rook e8 and rook cross e8 checkmate. So after rook h e1, black resigned, as if black plays c6, then rook cross d6 and the checkmate follows. And if black plays knight to c5, then queen e7 check, king c8, queen takes f8, bishop takes f8 and rook e8 checkmate. So after rook h e1, black resigned. So I hope you learned something from this game as well. And the principles we learned from this game is First of all, occupy the center with pawns, develop your pieces towards the center, try developing your pieces as quickly as possible, bring out your knights before bishops, castle as early as possible, delaying castle is not a good idea, do not move same piece twice or more in the opening, that's what happened in the game. So in a cramped position, try to relieve the pressure by forcing exchanging of pieces. So that's all. I hope you liked the game and I hope you liked the video as well. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.